Rome must do something, or the church in each country will go its own way, and the Pope will become a figurehead only for the tourist, or a kind of Dalai Lama. The time-honored phrase, Rome has spoken, the case is closed, has been rendered virtually meaningless among the 20th century Catholics. The result is a growing crisis of confidence and authority facing Pope Paul and the church leaders today. This crisis has led to an important change in Vatican thinking. The Catholic Church finds itself in need of a political institution to assist in stopping the spread of liberalism sweeping through it. But the church in Rome is not alone in the suffering from division. Europe itself is suffering from division, political, social, and religious. Little wonder that the Vatican and Europe are therefore moving closer together in a common need for security and self-preservation. For the first time in 155 years, the Vatican Papal State has decided to make its voice heard on an international political platform. Leaders of the Roman Catholic Church have felt for many years that it was not the duty of the church to interfere in the political quarrels of the world. But times have changed. Rome and Europe need each other for mutual survival. Pope Paul's unofficial foreign minister was directed to head the four-man delegation to the European Security Conference at Helsinki. Not since 1818 has such an event occurred. But why? We ask, for the press overlooked its significance. More than 10 years ago, the late Pope John the 23rd was painfully aware of the divisive forces that were building up in the church to heal the wounds that afflicted Catholicism. Pope John called the Second Vatican Council. Its purpose was first to settle the Catholic Church's own internal problems. Then, after performing that dutiful work, after removing whatsoever on a human level could hamper a speedier process, Pope John stated, "We will display the church in all its splendor, within and without, spot, wrinkle, and we will tell all separated from us, see, brothers, this is the Church of Christ." The dream of Pope John the 23rd to open windows to the world and send a wave of fresh air into a troubled church was looked on by many even then as a great gamble. John had one concern. The Catholic Church was in a state of deterioration and was not considered relevant to the 20th century. An event was needed. Pope John expected Vatican II to update the church and fill the 2,500 bishops at Rome with a new zeal. Instead, the free exchange of views and ideas of bishops from all over the world proved disastrous. At the end of Vatican II, the bishops returned home, continuing to question and to launch further inquiries. Instead of providing a religious experience, a bond of unity, the council opened a paradox box of controversy, infallibility, celibacy, and birth control were all open to renewed question. The hope that God would show his face and renew the Catholic Church never materialized. John waited in vain. The divine event did not occur. He had gambled and lost. John had tried to force the hand of the Spirit and had failed. Instead of a wave of fresh air, a gale of descent swept in and exposed problems that had been lying dormant. it soon became evident that the outpouring of the Spirit Pope John was counting on for the success of Vatican II was a miscalculation. Even former Catholic strongholds have been severely affected, although the major issues vary from country to country. General unrest and malaise are common to all. In the United States, the Catholic Church has undergone great upheavals. It seems on the verge of collapse. In a recent article, Italian theologian Balista Mondin said that a number of people had told him that the Catholic Church in America would be totally wiped out within the next 20 years. Catholic publications in the United States were denounced for their complicity in the matter, as theologian Mondin stated. Instead of tending to the bleeding wounds of their church, they willingly lend themselves to those journalistic fabrications which are typical of our time. The publication went on to say that the Catholic authors have embarked on a wave of criticism, often graver and more offensive than even Protestant authors would dare to make. In France, the number of adults converting to the Catholic faith has fallen by 50%. In 2 years, in this nation where 84% of the population is officially considered to be Catholic, the conclusion among some Catholic officials is that France is experiencing a tidal wave of unbelief. In the past 10 years, enrollment in French seminaries has dropped dramatically, signaling no let-up in the dwindling number of priests. A constant source of tension is the expanding rift between the Dutch Church and Rome, the virgin birth, the authority of the Pope, and the right to marry are questions which have drawn the Church in Holland into the most potentially dramatic conflict within the Vatican since Martin Luther. In Rome it has become commonplace to use the words heresy and schism in referring to Dutch Catholicism. The struggle for social justice has Latin America in a bitter controversy. In the forefront of this movement are many priests who are calling for power to the people. It is widely reported that at least 1/3 of the churchmen in Latin America are in one way or another involved in protest movements. The guerrilla priest, one who leads the fight for social reform, is not unheard of in many areas of South America. In Argentina, more than 500 priests reportedly belong to a third world movement. Among the Catholic Church has publicly favored many of the changes demanded by the reformist priest. It has done little to implement them. In Brazil, the world's largest Catholic church, the problems that confronting the church range from a limited clergy to a rise of Spiritism, limiting clergy to a rise of Spiritism, I say, or in other words, the practice of devilish spiritualism, voodoo, and some say Pentecostalism. But I want to say right here and now that true Pentecost is true Pentecost, and like the Bible, regardless of skepticism, regardless of criticism, Pentecostalism, like the true Bible of our God, will live down through the very wrecks of time. Brazil's military junta has jailed priests, nuns, and lay members for involvement in what they term subversive groups. Even in Spain, the demand is growing for an immediate end to to the ties between church and state. The Spanish hierarchy has spoken out against political and social injustice in this most Catholic country. The present Pope inherited a fragmentation church when he was elected in June 1963. The trend in the Catholic Church at the death of John was clearly a move away from conversation. Paul VI indicated that at the time his intention of reigning in Pope John's spirit and for a while his policies did have a liberal flavor. He praised John for putting more power into the hands of the bishop of the royal and less into the Roman curula. But in 1967, after a few years as Pope, he unaccountably shifted direction and moved back into the conservative camp. It was then that many of the present internal troubles came fully into the open. That decision on birth control brought home to Paul that his brand of conversationism would invite rebellion, but the alternative seemed unacceptable. A hardline approach would bring the loss of a major condition of the Catholic population and destroy progress made towards non-Catholics. Conversely, a liberal approach would invite social alternatives, schemes, and open the church to greater division. Pope's solution, at least for the moment, has been a holding action. He will not alienate the reasonably progressive nor stifle the protest of the conservatives. This has prompted some to charge that he is the leader of a do-nothing hierarchy on crucial issues of the day. Sociologies and priests Andrew M. Greeley said of the present situation that very many priests would agree that they feel the ship is drifting without any firm hand on the tiller. Meanwhile, a group of 33 progressive Roman Catholics has attacked the leadership of the church and called on all Catholics to resist the misuse of authority by the hierarchy. Pope Paul has blamed the devil for the problems that have beset the church since Vatican II. Addressing the Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope said, "We believe that after the council there would be a day of sunshine in the history of the church. Instead, we have found new storms. How has this come about? I will confide a thought to you. It is an enemy power, the devil." He suggested that Satan had entered the church through some fissure to stifle the fruits of the Vatican Council. In making his pronouncement, the Pope asked his listeners not to treat his words as superstitious or unreal. The onslaught that followed was immediate and critical. The secular press severely lampooned him. Progressive Roman Catholics were embarrassed, and many wrote off the papal announcement as one more tragic false past. Seldom has a pronouncement from Rome brought such ridicule and disdain upon a modern pope. Catholic theologian and secular press alike have poke-fronted him with titles of articles such as "The devil, you say, and speak of the devil." Pope Paul, a short time later, said that at times he feels immensely alone in the face of a godless society, describing himself as a witness who shouts in the desert. Pope Paul, nevertheless, is increasingly leery of making papal pronouncements. He speaks in such a low-key effort that many of his statements, even though significant, receive very little recognition. One way to bring about a united church is to plunge it into a cause that is bigger than itself. That cause could be the unification of Europe. Despite its internal difficulties, the Vatican maintains a virtual interest in Europe. According to the Martin's book, there are 3 popes and the cardinal. A unified Europe will, with Germany at the center, has been uppermost in the minds of those high up in the Vatican. Europe is still considered the center of the world by Rome, but a permanently divided Germany has proven a stumbling block to the kind of unity Rome desires. With deep internal dissent still raging, the Catholic Church is not at the moment in a position to enter fully the realm of global politics. Historically, however, Rome has been involved in the affairs of various nations and is not a stranger to the political arena. As Pope Paul said, the Church has the right to pass moral judgments, even on matters touching the political order. Europe is searching for a central authority, one that can be looked upon as a neutral, ancient prejudicee run deep among the nationalities of Europe, and as a German is not likely to allow a Frenchman to rule over him or vice versa. But the office at Rome could accomplish an otherwise seemingly impossible task. The simplest and perhaps the only way to bring about a United States of Europe is by the binding tie of religion, with the majority of the present 9 nations of the European community being Catholic. Such a union is a real possibility. Once formed, this great third force in the world could rival both the United States and Russia in world power politics. Europe is moving ponderously toward full economic union. A common currency is expected by 1980, if not much before that date. With the international monetary situation in disarray, some observers feel that Europe's timetable will be significantly speeded up. Dr. Otto von Habsburg, son of Austria's last emperor, said in a speech presented in London in 1970, "We must admit that this decade will be quite a decisive one in the future of this continent. We could even say that we are at the end of this decade. It will be already clear whether this Europe will play the role to which it is obviously called in the world of tomorrow, a role of peace, of understanding, and of progress, or whether, on the contrary, we expect to live as we have lived in the past 25 years, divided between zones of influence, without our determination in politics and economics, and that, of course, might easily mean a real danger for the rest of humanity. Under what banner could Europe unite? Said Dr. Habsburg in his book, The Social Order of Tomorrow, states, "Now we do possess a European symbol which belongs to all nations equally. This is the crown of the Holy Roman Empire, which embodies the tradition of Charlemagne, the ruler of a united Occident. This may sound romantic and unrealistic, but one must keep in mind that the crown represents not merely the sovereignty of the monarch, but also the ties between authority and the people. And one of the importance of religion in the formation of a united Europe, according to Dr. Habsburg, the face that some northern European nations are Protestants, and that there has been a decline of religion in these nations in recent years does not portend great difficulty for them in being interrogated into Europe. He says the Roman spirit has gained a great deal of ground, even much more in the past 14 years since this book was published. Of course, religion has been in the wane in certain areas. I personally am rather dubious whether this wane will last very long. I rather expect in the future a reverse influence. That is to say, I expect that within the foreseeable future the influence of religion will become much greater than it has been in the past. If the Catholic Church is to play a major role in the new Europe, powerful and unusual events must take place in the 1970s, and it is my honest belief that I advise all people everywhere throughout the entire religious world that it is true in the 1970s great and unusual political upheavals and shakes will be noticeable, particularly in the year 1974, 1975, and no doubt 1976. Pope Paul, or a strong successor, will be needed to effect this change, to allow the continuum this descendants within the church will bring it to ruin. One thing is certain, the Catholic Church is down, but not out. Rome is determined to play an important part in the history of the world, and that is very true, for it is only a matter of a little while until the little horn that comes forth out of the country of Syria, known as the man of sin, or the Antichrist, that shall appear in the latter days, that is, in the days in which we live. This man of sin, or the Antichrist, will be greatly and appreciately received by the Roman Catholic Church, also by the Jewish nation of Israel, who for many years have long waited for their Messiah. But this, incidentally, is not the real Messiah, but the false Messiah, whom the nation of Israel will receive. And yet it is most astonishing and amazing how a modern church today, the world's largest church, such as the Roman Catholic, will immediately bow down before this man of sin, the Antichrist, and receive him, who will ultimately become the head not only of Rome, but of the entire revived Roman Empire, also of the entire Roman Catholic world, throughout wherever there is a Roman Catholic influence. Hallelujah! One thing is certain, the Catholic Church, as I said, is down but not out. Rome is determined to play an important part in the history of the world. Would it be? Be it so, says Dr. Habsburg, indicates that the crown of Charlemagne and the Holy Roman Empire will again have a part to play in the history of Europe. Big events are shaping up in Europe, Rome, and the Middle East. Monotonous decisions and actions in these areas are foretold in the Bible prophecy and will affect the entire world in a way that will excel even seasoned observers. In the end of this dispensation, let it be known that there must be 3 world empires that will emerge out of World War number 3. First, it will be the empire of Gog and Magog under the rulership of Russia, communist Russia, whose headquarters will be at Moscow. Then the sun-rising empire, the gathering of all the yellow nations, and the leadership of this sunrise empire will be none other than the mighty nation of Japan, whose headquarters will be in Tokyo. And then third, if you please, will be revived the Roman Empire under the false prophet today, who is known as the Holy Father, His Excellency, the Pope of Rome, but honestly, down deep in his heart, he knows he is a offspring of that mighty monarch of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, the same diadem or triple crown upon his head he still wears. This will be revived Roman. What about the United States? The United States is doomed and downed for a total collapse. The United States will soon undergo complete deterioration of government, complete deterioration of its laws and the law enforcement policy. The United States is headed for doom. There is only one way for the United States to turn again, and that is to turn again to God, because it happened some 14 years ago that the United States Supreme Court has openly denounced the name of God, denied the children of our generation the right to pray unto our Heavenly Father, and because America has turned their back on God, God has also turned His back on us. Therefore today this country, the United States, is in an upheaval. It is doomed, and there is no sign of turning back. Yet hear me, for in Revelation 3:20 it says, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and will open unto me, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. Therefore, you as an individual, hear the word of the living God. Seek ye the Lord while it is yet today, while there is still time to call upon the name of the Lord. Seek him while you still have the opportunity. Accept the Christ of Calvary as your personal Savior before it is eternally too late. For there are chaos times upon us. There are times of catastrophe upon us, and God help us so that as what little time we have left, let us call upon God. Let us not turn our backs upon the living God, but look up into His face and say, God, have mercy upon me. I am a sinner. Save me, Lord Jesus, for because you have paid the price for me on Calvary's cross. Wash away my sins with thy precious shed blood. Make me clean, O God, and prepare my heart for thy soon coming, which is about to take place in the clouds of heaven, for the ushering in of the church of Jesus Christ into the glory world.